Hey everyone, welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide YouTube channel. My name is Adam Hancock, and today I want to walk you through 4 concepts of buying a home in 2023 right now in Sarasota, Florida. 4 of the best options I think are totally available. If you pin me against a wall and I had to put my money in one place in different categories, I want to really explain and articulate exactly why I would do these things, and I'm giving you a real opinion. I'm not going to go surface level with this. And I think even if these options aren't for you, this could give you a good example of like, oh, I get kind of the story you're telling, and this is what I can do based on that information. So that's what we're going to do here today. And also would love to assist you in any way I can. So stick around for the end of the video for that information as well. And let's get started. Okay, number 1 on my list in no particular order, I'm going with a combination idea of a district called Southgate in Sarasota and another district right above it called Arlington Park. And we're talking all about geography and location here. That's the name of the game. Because you know, in Sarasota, Florida, like many Florida coastal cities, what really made it popular, what made it in vogue originally, and still to this day, is all about the beaches, the bay, the Gulf, and in Sarasota, notably, you have the art. So what I like here about buying in 2023 is I like doing the idea of a resale remodel on an existing home, or at least an aesthetic cleanup one. That's where I think a lot of value lies. So when you sit here in these 2 districts, you're just below downtown, just a couple miles. You're just parallel to the east of Siesta Key, which is the world-renowned Barrier Island. Just above that, you have Lido Key, you have St. Armand Circle, Cosmopolitan Shopping District, designed by John Ringling, Longboat Key, Anna Maria Island right above that. So you go west, you have it all. And you're not 40, 50 minutes one way like a lot of the suburban communities. Now, this is where we get into these value propositions. So I like the location right off the bat. But then by going slightly south of downtown, getting this close, like many districts that get this close to the water in Florida, they're urban. It's street to street, it's house to house. These are not going to be, 10-acre master plan communities. They're going to be street to street, house to house, because they've existed forever. Well, therein lies a lot of the value. You're going to have a $400,000, which I'll show here. We're going to have a $400,000 bungalow next to a $1.8 to $2.5 million property that someone else bought the bungalow and are now selling it as a new construction rendering process. And if you can find the right house on the street, nothing weird, the right setback, the right lot, there's not going to be people stop pushing into these districts regardless of the market. So I would try to find something that you can carve out a little space of your own, even if you're not planning on reselling it. It's just to mitigate your risk. Okay, number 2 on the list might be really the opposite of number 1, and a perfect juxtaposition to balance these against each other is one individual new construction neighborhood in full-on suburbia, master plan USA. And that is Esplanade Azario by Taylor Morrison Homes in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. So this is one where you're going to the number 1 master planned community in the United States, multi-gen in the United States. 30 plus neighborhoods that are all built post-1994. A lot of them built post-2010. So you're not running around having a hard time comparing options. There is a ton of options. You're not going to run out of variety. So then you get into a commodity conversation. And opposite of carving out value for number 1, where it was because of the texture of them being different, therein lied the perceived value. New construction, they are what they are. Like one builder will build an entire neighborhood. So in that game, you have to get a lot more micro with what is actually delineating value. And I think this could help a lot of people buying new construction on just whether you like Esplanade or not, on following this path. And the way I like to do that in areas where these new construction communities are a dime a dozen is I like to look at a couple different things. So one of them at first is floor plans. There are a lot of new construction neighborhoods where the floor plan that they build 3,000 square feet on a single story in Florida, they do well. 60 to 65 foot front plane, 2,900 to 3,100 square feet. They're nice. A lot. MI Homes builds a great one. Neil builds a few great ones. Taylor does the same. And Madame, a lot of them do well with that. But when you go smaller, 2,100 square feet on a 52-foot plane, when you go to 45 foot on a narrow shotgun kind of style home or an attached villa or something like that, they're not all equal. And with that drop off, I think you start to lose a lot of value. What I like about Esplanade Azario is everything from the attached villa like an Ibis to the Roma, which is they call it a villa, but it's detached, but it's narrow. 45-foot front plane means you might not lose square footage because they're deep lots, but you will lose the width, that open kitchen, all of that. The bedrooms will stack because it's narrow. Nothing wrong with that, but then you hop to a 52-foot, which gives you a like a Lazio, 2,100 to 2,500 square feet on a 52. That's the width that sits best with that square footage, in my opinion, on a single story. Then you hop to a Palazzo, you know, and you keep going, right? Palazzo is a 60-foot plane, 62-foot plane. That's where 3,000 square feet sits better. And in this neighborhood particularly, not as much anymore, but they used to build a 76-foot front plane and a 90, which the Leakin and the Beacon set on, where you could do 4,500 square feet or whatever further from the neighbors. So the important thing here is about Esplanade Azario. I feel like Taylor Morrison at this level builder, not a custom builder, they have such a good line of floor plans that everyone seeks them out individually. If there's demand for every line of home, then it creates value for all the homes, because that rolls you into, is there room for these homes to grow, which is my second point, in equity. If you bought in 2021, did those people keep all the equity? Did they make all the money that's to be made? And I still think this one has room to grow, because right now the Roma is far cheaper than the Lazio, and the Lazio is far cheaper than the Palazzo. I'm going up here. And they're also 700 square feet apart. So if they're $100 to $200,000 apart in value, which you need demand in each line in order to create that value, then they still have room to grow. Also, the Leakin and the Beacon, those bigger ones, they're not doing anymore. So the scarcity of what that creates by it not being available anymore is going to create a lot of value for the one right under it, which is the Palazzo, which is the only player in the game for that size home on the best lots in the future neighborhood. So I like that a lot. And then you go to amenities for the cost. So gone are the days in new construction where a nice neighborhood pool and stuff differentiates a community. They're all nice. So you have to look at a couple things, and one of those is amenities and geography. So for instance, where Esplanade Azario sits, it actually sits in the very northeast quadrant of Lakewood Ranch. Lakewood Ranch is 50,000 plus acres. So there's a community in Lakewood Ranch that, like Windward by Neil, that's 9 to 10 miles from downtown Sarasota, where I'm here today, which means 20, 25 minutes from downtown and the beaches. That's the knock on the suburbs. Well, Esplanade Azario is going to add 15 to 18 minutes further for that. So you might be asking yourself, why would I do that? You need a reason to do that. And I think Esplanade Azario gives you a compelling reason to do so. If you're going to go that distance, here you get 2 resort-style pools. You get a 16,000 square foot restaurant. You get a Bahama bar with full food service at the pool, which you do not see often. You get a proper size gym, men's and women's locker room, sauna, salon, and this isn't $1,000 a month. There's less than $400 a month for these amenities. The community I live in, Lakewood Ranch, my cost is more expensive than that, and I don't have any of that stuff, not even close to it. And so really good value there. And then if that's not enough for you, add this neighborhood is a deeded golf community, which means basically world-class golf course, but 1,500 homes, roughly half of those homes get golf and the social membership. Social just means the regular amenities, but the rest, the other half, are just the social, all the amenities. The golf for this entire thing, all the things I just named right there, is about $615 a month. So if you're going to go that far, then that is a compelling reason to do so. And that brings me to my final point, replacement value. When this is all said and done, if you love Esplanade Azario, and if you're going through this search right now and you hate all the lots available right now, you can empathize with this point. If you love Esplanade Azario, you really love it, there's no plan B. There's nowhere else to go. There really isn't. I mean, in Lakewood Ranch, there's not a single golf community in Waterside's district. You have Country Club West and East, which is on a wait list because it's a pay-in membership. That's all resale anyway. There is Lakewood National, which is sold out now, but that's a Lennar. It's a very different type of home. You have Terra and Rosewood, all resale. The Esplanade community in South Sarasota and the Esplanade community in mid Sarasota don't have golf. So you really don't have an apples to apples comparison with Esplanade. And when it's sold out completely beyond the resales of that conversation, it starts to get hard to replace. So right now, as an example, right, there's a lot of shades of gray to this, but as an example for my number 2, I like Esplanade Azario as a long-term buy in Sarasota, Florida. All right, my third one on this list is a unique one, and I'm going with a combination of Longboat Key and Longboat Key Club. So again, this one is more of a premium option, but we're talking about long-term viability across multiple categories. And the idea here, the faux scenario that I'm creating to paint this picture, is trying to solve everything: coast, golf, and not losing what's cool about the town. So Longboat Key is a barrier island that I kind of mentioned earlier, but it sits above Siesta Key and above Lido Key. It's about the same length technically as Siesta Key is, but it just sits in a northern location. It's above downtown. And the island by itself is great. But what I like in particular is I like one section of it in this conversation of central proximity and long-term value is a lower Longboat Key. What I mean by that is I want you to go to an area where you get above Lido Key and above St. Armand's Circle, which is like this, lovely 100+ shop boutique restaurant district. But if you live on Lido, you're in it. You're in the thick of it, right? So you get a little closer to town, but I'm not sure it's worth the sacrifice. And then by going one mile above it, you literally launch into this, quasi paradise of sorts, which Longboat Key is far more residential feeling and far more private feeling as a permanent homestead than both Siesta Key and Anna Maria, which are going to be much more touristy. It's just a stylistic difference. But all the islands aren't the same, right? Like if you're on mile 5 of the 7-mile island, you go up north on Longboat, for instance, lovely, probably more quiet, but also that is beach living commitment. You are on it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to choose that. Long-term value, I don't want to lose anything. So you need to stay low enough on the island so that downtown Sarasota now is 4 miles away. Siesta Key is 6 below it. The bay is on one side, the golf's on the other side. You get all the perks, but you still you show kind of walking distance to even the shopping districts. So once you say that, that's why I really like this one. But once you say that, then now you have the options of you can live actually on the Longboat Key Club property, multiple condominium buildings. There's single families. You have all that comes with that, but you also have the option to not, because there's the golf side and there's the bay, and it's a skinny island, right? So you turn your head, you can kind of see both. But you could live, for instance, in a country club shores shaped like forks you can see on a map. They're all built in the 50s or 60s. Most of them are on water. You can sit there with a boat in your backyard on a resale property and then pay into the membership at the Longboat Key Club. And they have moorings. They have a lot of social components. Unbelievable golf. I think it's technically 45 holes, so like 2.5 golf courses. So I like the idea of trying to navigate that situation. The closest you can to sit in this little circle on the lower key, it's almost like where it has unbelievable kind of value to me, but 1 mile or 2 the other direction, in either direction, I think a lot of the allure, I think it's a little bit more fragile. So that's my number 3. Okay, my 4th and final option for this list, I'm going to kind of tie a bow on this thing of sorts, is the idea of going in South Sarasota and generally the Golf Gate to Palmer Ranch area. So if you think about what I spoke about so far, very, very niche options. I mean, they're an example of what those districts are to the town, but they're really niche. You had an urban district where it's like a very specific kind of homes and neighborhood. You had full-on suburbia, like a full commitment, and then you had full-on literally on the beach. Well, this kind of does a in-betweener, and probably more of an in-between of the second option of master plan new construction and the first option of urban living. So say that you want to be pretty close to the stuff. Like the suburbs are a little too far for you. You want to be pretty close to the major districts. You want to be west of I-75 or the interstate, which gets you closer to the beach. Say you like Siesta Key, even more particular. But you're not a bungalow person. You're not an urban district. Like some people really like that, but you're not romantic about that. Like you don't need a new house, but you want a Florida house. Well, South Sarasota is basically the suburbs before the new suburbs were created. This is the suburbs built 20 to 40 years ago. But ranch-style homes, Florida-style neighborhoods, and you have some gated, some not. But what it does, it puts you in a very interesting location because this is, again, all this land was already built, right? So the best locations in Sarasota, for the most part, they already exist in some fashion. So you're going to catch homes that have been renovated. You're going to catch homes that investors have already taken. You're going to catch homes that people have lived in forever. You're going to catch neighborhoods that were built 5 years ago or 10 years ago in Palmer. But if you can navigate that correctly, it's going to get you a lot better chance of having like a home built in the 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s even. And but like big ranch style, you could get bigger lots over there. And this whole district's like 4 to 6 miles from Siesta Key. It's also pretty far south in town, and downtown's pretty far north. So downtown might take you 20 minutes, but the hidden perk to this would be going south and also having pretty good access to Nokomis, Osprey, and Venice. If you have kids, the school districts in South Sarasota are lovely. You have Riverview High, but you have Laurel Nokomis right there, which is a 9 out of 10. Pineview, the #1 elementary school in America, is down there for the gifted, which is a public charter. And but yeah, so I'll digress. But the idea of number 4 would be to kind of bring the whole thing full circle. Is if you do want a lot, that's a lot of struggle for people right now. A lot of the homes they want are built 45 minutes away from town. So if you want to try to navigate the in-between, Gulfgate, Palmer Ranch, even Pinecraft on resales, then these would be the areas that you'd want to look in if you weren't a downtown urban living kind of person. So that is what I will say for my number 4 of some of the best buys right now in Sarasota, Florida. All right, my friends, that is a wrap for today's video. I really hope you found some nuggets of value in here a little bit. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe before you head out. Also, if we can assist you with any real estate needs, relocation, buying, selling, anything in between, I think we have an unbelievable team. Anything you're trying to do, we probably have someone that mirrors that and maybe is 2-3 years ahead of you in that fashion and knows that local area in particular. So I would encourage you, please reach out if you resonated with this content and my team can assist you in any way. Again, my name is Adam Hancock. I own a real estate brokerage that's Florida-wide. It's called the Sunshine State Company, full service brokerage, and we do a heavy relocation and a lot of this kind of stuff you're learning on this channel. So if that interests you, please reach out. Any of the contact information below. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.